Hello everyone, how are you doing? Today we have with us Stormy Andres, President, Yokel Local Internet Marketing. Hey Stormy, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? Glad to be here.
Well, same here. Thank you for taking out time. You are a busy man. Really excited to have you and looking forward to chatting with you.
Same here. I'm glad to be. I'm glad you put me in front of your audience, and hopefully I can give you some pretty good nuggets.
Oh yeah, I'm sure about it. So Stormy, before we start, it would be great if you could introduce yourself and your company.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, my name is Stormy Andres, a pretty unique name, and my company is Yokel Local, also a unique name. But Yokel Local, we've been a digital marketing agency since 2010. We're also a HubSpot certified agency partner. We're a platinum agency partner. We're actually the largest HubSpot agency partner within the entire state of Nevada, which is pretty cool. We're closely entangled with HubSpot. I am the leader of the Las Vegas Hug, which stands for the HubSpot user groups. I'm a HubSpot certified trainer, and we've got a great team located in Las Vegas, Nevada. Believe it or not, people live in Las Vegas. They just don't visit Las Vegas, but that's where the vast majority of our teams assemble. Our head of digital marketing, he's located in California, so he works remotely, and the rest of our team members are located here in Las Vegas.
So since rest of the team is located there, I'm sure they must be missing office.
Yes, you know what? Our office has been sitting empty for a few months now because of COVID. And it's, that's kind of a struggle, but safety is our number one concern. We actually, when we saw this whole COVID thing starting, we started moving out of our office and getting our team acclimated to working remotely, the team that worked in the office. And about a week and a half after we started doing that is when our state and the country started making that a requested move and then a mandatory move. We have permission to go back to the office, but we just don't think it's in the best interest of our employees. And we've been doing really, really good working remotely. So this may be a practice that will continue.
Well, yeah, and you'll be missing inbound this year as well. I'm
I
sure you're
will.
gonna
Well,
miss it.
you know what? I will be missing inbound, but I have a meeting tomorrow. I just got an email over the weekend where inbound may be doing, I was supposed to speak at inbound this year. So I was one of the presenters, and I just got an email yesterday that they're going to they want us speakers to put some virtual programs together.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have that meeting tomorrow and find out what that's all about. So I'll still be a part of the very first virtual inbound 2020.
Well, that will be exciting, but still, it's not the same fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you transitioned from sales into marketing. How did that happen? And you were doing very well in sales. But how
Yeah,
did that
well,
transition happen?
so it was interesting. When I was in sales, I had a really, really fortunate sales career. Basically, I would rise to the top where I'm either I would quickly become the number one salesperson within a respective industry. And I did it across multiple industries. It started in the consumer electronics industry. Then it went into the world of home building. And when I was in the home building industry, I was offered an opportunity to take over the sales management side of things because I was doing pretty good in sales, I guess you could say. And that was a different opportunity. Once I got into management, my compensation was based on sales of the company versus my own individual sales. And I realized as a salesperson, my revenue was capped because I can only work so many hours per day. But if I could train a solid sales team and get a little bit of an override off of their commissions, that would equate to more money, and it did. So I had great success in the home building industry. Now, the owner of the company said, Stormy, you're doing a great job running our sales team. Here's what I would like you to do. I want you to take over marketing. What do you think about that? Now, being this salesperson that thinks he can do anything and has had a great track record in regards to sales, I'm thinking, great, I can do this. Marketing will be easy. Well, prior to taking that marketing position, my hair, I didn't have any gray hairs. All my gray hairs came from taking over marketing. That was a learning experience. And that's where I really had to work for the first time in my life, in my opinion, because sales was just natural for me. And this was right at the beginning of digital marketing, but most of my responsibilities was traditional marketing, billboards, newspapers, print advertising. And I started overseeing the marketing space, but I'm a person who likes a challenge. And I dug in. I started to appreciate the world of marketing. I determined that it took a lot of additional skill sets. And what I also had discovered at that particular time frame when I was in the home building industry is that a lot of people ended up in marketing. They took the same path that I took. They're put in charge of marketing, yet they truly don't have a necessarily a marketing background. They normally have a sales background. And what I had found is that a lot of people either sink or swim when they're placed in that position. I almost sunk multiple times, and I felt that there had to be a better way. So eventually, when we started Yokel Local, I built Yokel Local for my role when I was in the home building industry, because what I had realized once I got into the world of marketing, I had to wear way too many hats. You see, when I was in sales, all I had to do was be concerned with sales. When I got into marketing, well, now there was a lot of additional stresses. Now, all of a sudden, I've got to be the marketing strategist. I've got to be the SEO guy. I've got to be the guy who's in charge of blog posting. And this is before social media. And one of the things that I noticed is that the directors of marketing, the marketing managers, there was more stresses and more pressures placed upon them. And it was very difficult for them to articulate these pressures and these stresses to the stakeholders or their bosses. So they tend to get burned out. So when I created Yokel Local, I decided, what if I can create an agency and bring these experts under one roof? The first thing I had to do is determine what skill sets were needed. So I determined that there was about 40 skill sets that were required to be really, really good and successful at marketing. I also realized that no one on the planet has all 40 of the skill sets. And I realized that most organizations don't have the budget to hire for all 40 of those skill sets, because if someone's really good, maybe they're really good at 3, 4, 5, or 6 of those skill sets, right? We need a team. But you don't need the team for 40 hours a week. So when we built Yokel Local, I'm like, we interviewed, we hired for those 40 skill sets. So we brought in the team where collectively we can bring all the skill sets required to the table for about the same investment that that marketing manager would be able to hire one additional employee to help them. So the value proposition was pretty easy. Hire the one person that can bring another 3 or 4 skill sets to the table, or hire us and we'll bring all the skill sets to the table and also bring a higher level of skill sets with the strategy, where many times our clients use me as a fractional CMO because they just don't have the CMO services there.
Right. Well, makes sense. And you know, since then you have been doing really well. So, Stormy, you are a licensed practitioner of NeuroLinguistic Programming. Does that help you in your marketing strategies?
Tremendous. It really gives us a leg up. You know, when I was in the sales space, that's when I became a licensed practitioner of NeuroLinguistic Programming. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, let me give you a really quick rundown. So neuro, when you think of that, what does that mean? That means the brain. Yeah. Linguistics, the words we use when we speak. And programming, that's the models we each make of the world. So what happens, what do I mean by models? Well, models are, you know, based on each of us, we have our own unique experiences. We have a different education. We have different belief systems. We have different backgrounds. And because of that, each of us create this model of the world. We kind of create what our realization, what is reality. We create our own versions of reality. So with NeuroLinguistic Programming, I brought it to sales to make salespeople better salespeople. You know, I provided training, and it wasn't really designed for them to be manipulative, but it was designed to help them to be more empathetic with the person that they're speaking with. Right. If I can understand you, your pains, your emotions to a greater degree, well, now I'm in a position to provide you a better solution for your problem. It makes me a better listener, and not just a listener for words, but listening for emotions. So I started traveling the country. I've spoken at universities in graduating business classes as it pertained to effective communication techniques inspired by NLP. And I wanted to bring that to marketing, and digital marketing especially. And I found that to be much tougher than I originally imagined. I mean, it was a difficult process. So for the last 7 years, I've been working on something that I call the world's best buyer persona system. And that's a system that's inspired by NLP, and it's designed to help your digital assets. You see, one of the things that my belief is that I think it's best for organizations to think of their digital assets as employees. Right. Some employees are going to perform better than others. So if I have digital assets, if I have messaging on Facebook, guess what? That's an employee. My website, that's an employee. If I'm doing things on Twitter, that's an employee. And if I think of them as employees, well, now I have certain expectations. And if I have those expectations, I can manage for those expectations, right? Right. And I think that's probably the biggest mistakes that businesses don't, that they don't take into account. They think of their digital assets as expenses or marketing expenses or advertising expenses. And I'm like, no, they're employees. And you can get more out of them if you train those employees. And the world's best buyer persona, it's all about training those employees. You see, when I was in sales, if I was able to probe and ask questions and really build a relationship with the customer that's in front of me, because we're belly to belly, we're speaking to each other, whether it's in person or over the phone. But with a digital asset, you really can't do that. So what the world's best buyer persona system does is it really helps organizations. One, how do let's think about who our ideal clients are. What are their characteristics? What are their pain points? What are their issues? What are their emotions? What are their triggering events? Why did they get here? How did they get here? And then what type of messaging would be important to them, not the type of messaging that's going to be important to us. In many organizations, it's not about the facts and the figures, it's emotions, because that's how we make decisions. So when I started creating the world's best buyer persona system, it's been a process of taking customer avatars or taking buyer personas to the next level, where we're actually getting into, we teach processes and systems to get into the mindset of your ideal client. So when your ideal clients come across your digital messaging, it's more likely to resonate with them. It's more likely to be empathetic, where they feel that you're just like them, and hopefully encourages them to take the next step. Did I answer that? Did that make sense to you?
Yes, it did. In fact, my next question anyways would have been about your, world's best buyer persona, because I was really interested to know what it actually is. And you answered that pretty much.
Awesome. Yeah, so the world's best buyer persona, I like to think of it, even though the name of it is the world's best buyer persona system, it's inspired by NLP. It's inspired, of what I understand when it comes to NeuroLinguistic Programming. It's inspired from valuable marketing techniques. It has lots of inspiration from lots of different areas of marketing as it pertains to best practices, but one of the fundamental principles are the components from NLP.
Right. Also, according to you, who all should be involved, in creating a buyer persona?
So in an ideal scenario, so I guess let me back up from the business standpoint. I think all departments that are customer facing. So in an ideal scenario, we would have sales there. We would have marketing would be a part of it. And we would have the customer service department. You see, because what happens is each of them are involved with the customer, right? Yeah. But they're involved with the customer at different stages. And they can all bring different aspects, or they can bring their understanding of that customer to the table. Now, the most important person would be your ideal client. Right. If you're able to get them to be part of the equation, because they can give you insights, where they can be part of the interview process. But unfortunately, what I have found after building hundreds upon hundreds of buyer personas is that sometimes getting the ideal client to the table, it's a lot easier said than done. Right. That's just the real world scenario. So when we can bring different people that can bring different perspectives, we can do our best to create a buyer persona or create messaging that's designed to attract those individuals. You see, here's the beauty of the world's best buyer persona when it's developed for your ideal clients. And you may have multiple ideal clients for different product lines. Well, what I have found is that the only reason, well, let me back up. if you have enough of your ideal clients, I mean, these are your favorite clients, and you can think about them. Think about your favorite clients right now. If you put them in your mind, imagine if all your clients were the same or very similar. They had the same disposition, the same outlook on life, the same pleasantness to deal with. Well, when you get to that position, you can start to reject and turn away the type of clients that you don't want to work with.
Right.
And oftentimes we work with the clients we don't want to work with because finances dictate that, you know what, I need revenue, so I've got to take this customer in, which I know is going to be a problem child. And if you've been in business long enough, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you have enough of your ideal clients, you don't have to worry about the other people. You can turn them away with a smile on your face. And it's interesting, once you start turning them away, you can start charging a greater premium for your services, and your services become more in demand.
Right.
You get really good at servicing that group.
Right. Well, I mean, what according to you are the most common mistakes inbound marketing agencies make?
So, you know, obviously I'm the buyer persona guy. So one of the big mistakes that I think they make is when you look at the messaging, you know, all too often the messaging is about themselves, and no one cares about you. They don't care about me. If you come to the Yokel Local website and you're like, and we're talking about us, or we're talking about facts and figures, they don't care. So knock that stuff off. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. And so I think when it comes to digital messaging, the messaging really has to resonate with the pain, the struggles, the issues, the concerns that your clients have, especially your ideal clients. Because now what happens when they come across your digital messaging, especially for inbound, when they come across your digital messaging, they start to think that, wow, that there's something different about this company. They understand me. They feel my pain. They get it unlike anyone else. And now what happens for inbound, they're more likely to exchange their email address or fill out a form. So this way they can continue the dialogue because you've built this level of trust. And so when it comes to inbound marketing, when you have the wrong messaging, I don't care what type of information you're trying to collect. The problem is you're trying to collect it too early in the relationship because you've done nothing to establish that relationship. Did that make sense the way I explained it?
Yes, it did. It did. Definitely did.
Awesome.
So, Stormy, how important is SEO, for an inbound marketing strategy or a campaign?
Yeah. So, one of the things I believe in is that, and this is from Sun Tzu. I would love, but from Sun Tzu, the famous Chinese general that wrote The Art of War. But he says that, tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat, and strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. I may have gotten those backwards, but you get the point. And I think when it comes to SEO, SEO is important. There's no question about it. If they can't find you, they can't find you. But is SEO for the sake of SEO? I think that's where a lot of people get into trouble because they're like, hey, I just want to show up on the front page of Google for something. Well, if your ideal clients aren't there, who cares, right?
Right.
And there are some general keywords that are probably good for any agency, for anyone who's doing SEO. So they have to be able to find you. So SEO is good. But I think if you don't make SEO the priority, but if you made the priority of just, how can I create content or messaging that's really, really going to help someone? That really has to be your number one goal. And if you create content that's really designed to help someone get over a pain point or issue that they're experiencing, and then you have someone who understands SEO that can read the message. Oh, I see what you're going for. Let me add the proper SEO elements. Let me get backlinks. Let me do the on-page SEO. That needs to be the secondary piece. And I think where a lot of people mess up is they have it backwards. They have it twisted. They're like, hey, I want to rank for this. So they figure out what they want to rank for, and then they put out content or messaging that's really not that good, not that beneficial. And that's not going to help you. You see, let's think about Google for just a second. Google's the number one search engine. The number two search engine is what? YouTube. The number three search engine is Amazon, right? So there's 1, 2, and 3. Everything else important, but let's just talk about Google for just a moment. What's Google's goal? Google's goal is to deliver the best result for their customers. And their customers are the person who's looking for a solution to a problem, right? So if you have marginal content or marginal messaging, you're not the best resource for their customers. So you may get a temporary bump if you have a really good SEO person, But is that really going to help you get customers? No. Spend the time, spend the energy, spend the effort on creating rock star solid content designed to help someone. Spend the extra money there, and it will pay off long term.
Right. You're talking about creating the right content. What is the best approach for creating a conversion focused landing page or, like any website page?
Well, that's where it comes to the world's best buyer persona system. That's why I created it, because you see, there's been studies. You can look this up. You don't have to take my word for it. 80% of our decisions are based on logic, right?
Right.
Excuse me, on emotions. Excuse me. 80% of our decisions are based on emotions, and we justify it with logic. So the beauty of the world's best buyer persona system is you're building out this framework where we're building out this emotional profile of what our ideal clients, what they're going through. Well, if I understand, if I understand your pains, and if I really spent the time understanding your pains, your solution, your concerns, your struggles, well, now what happens is I'm in a much, much better position to have content produced that's designed to address that. It's not designed to address this high level topical stuff that we tend to see out there. That isn't good for converting. So the world's best buyer persona, that's exactly what it's designed for. It's designed to be a foundational piece. So when any message is created, this becomes that Rosetta Stone that we go back to, that we're referring back to, and then we would qualify the content. Does this content help that person? Does it help the person that we created this world's best buyer persona for, or is it just more noise? If it's more noise, you're gonna lose.
Right. Well, what are your, Stormy, what are your thoughts on, like refreshing or repurposing old content versus, creating fresh content?
I think it's extremely important. As a matter of fact, our previous head of content, let me just share this story with her. She was with us for a few years, and she was, we lost her because she was recruited by HubSpot, our partner, but that was her dream job. So she went to work for HubSpot, and her sole purpose is going through the thousands and thousands of content that HubSpot has, and her purpose is to refresh that content. That's her job. So the world changes. Data, statistics, information that if you're looking at your data, the world changes. So if you have content that's performing or content that's not performing, the question is it relevant today? That's pretty important. Did you have a page that used to have very, very good conversions that maybe it's not converting the way it used to? Well, is that because you have outdated information that needs to be refreshed?
Right.
And this all goes back to, let's just go back to Google for just a moment. They want to deliver the best resource to their customers, right? And the best resource is going to be highly relevant content. So in the world of digital changes all the time. So if you refresh your content, it's only in your best interest, and not refreshing it for the sake of refreshing. It's refreshing it because maybe you're adding to it. Maybe the content is solid, but maybe you want to add to it. Let's expand upon it. That's great. Let's add a video to some of our blog posts that just goes deeper, or let's get rid of the old stuff entirely. So refreshing your content is extremely important when you're looking at the data that tells you it should be done, meaning that your content's outdated, or the page isn't doing as well as it should have, or maybe the page has never picked up steam from the get-go. But it's really, really good. So maybe you look at what you want to rank for, and maybe you go see what's on that, what's on that page, what's ranking on that page now. Is my content better? Is it solid? And if it's not better, make it better. Make it better than the best one on that page.
Right. And it's so easy to kind of, think of very cool ways of adding value to the existing content, like simple things like creating a video out of a written blog post and embedding that video in the blog post not only enhances that page on the website, but you can help rank on, like platforms like Google, or even like the videos that come as snippets on top of Google. So yeah,
Right.
Definitely. I mean, I am also, a strong believer of repurposing content. Even like we used to tell our agency partners that, you should always tell your clients that every blog piece that goes out there should have a calendar reminder that I need to visit this page, let's say after so much time, and kind of just make sure it is relevant, right? I mean, very small
Absolutely.
things, but definitely has a large impact.
Absolutely. And that's absolutely key. Having a calendar, because you're not going to remember. So
Right.
having a calendar, hey, every time we piece of content, let's, once it gets published, that can be a system that's automated. Once it gets published, let me have something where whatever that time frame happens to be in the future, a task is created for me to go back and check it out. That's great. That's awesome.
Right. Also, Stormy, how have you seen link building change over the years?
Well, link building has, link building used to be, or the way we used to, the stuff that link builders used to do, you can't do anymore. That's not a good thing. It used to be, link building, you'd sign up for link farms, or you'd be part of these link networks and you exchange links and all that other stuff. But once again, that gets to go back to Google again, right? Google wants the best content. And if you have the best content, you will get natural high quality links because other sites will link to you. So that's the key. If you create good content consistently, you're going to get links, right? I'm fortunate because I get to contribute to Forbes. I also get to contribute to HubSpot. So all I need to do is sit down and write an article, and I can have those links coming back from two very, very high quality sites, right? But everyone doesn't have that. So, but it didn't start overnight. And I'm just going to use my example. So I didn't wake up one morning and said, hey, I want to start writing for Forbes and I'm going to start writing for HubSpot. Hey guys, I'm here. Will you start letting me write for you? No, they had to see that I had a history of putting together solid content. And now I have opportunities, and I probably turn away more opportunities strictly because of time, where they're like, Stormy, we want you to write on this particular topic or this particular subject. And believe me, I would love to do it, but I'm just too busy with other scenarios. So if you don't have those opportunities, it's like, okay, what do you do? First thing is start producing quality. And if you start producing quality, that's the most important thing that you can do. And then, then you can start, if it's for whether it's a business or a personal brand, once you have that, I have found once you have that library of high quality content, you can use that to help build your social following. And then if you use that to help build your social following, now what happens is you can submit to some of the high quality sites and say, listen, I would love to write and produce content for you, and check out my check record. You see, because the scenario is they're getting pitched and solicited every day from everyone that says, hey, I want to start writing for you. Well, what social proof, what proof do you have that you're credible? There's a scenario that they want to see your content. They want to see if you have followers. They want to see if you've produced for other places. So having high quality backlinks, it's about quality. It's not about quantity. So being able to produce content or partnering with someone that produces content that's designed to get on high quality websites, that's designed to be beneficial for their audience. And guess what? The buyer persona comes in handy there too, because you're going to get better content. But it makes it more likely that you'll get a series of organic backlinks that are high quality, that are pointing back to you, and you will get many, many more of them. And Google appreciates it, and they reward you by, your rankings will improve because they see that you're credible.
Right, right. You're also co-host of a couple of podcasts.
I am.
How do you see podcasts as a marketing strategy?
I'm one of those guys, it comes down to personality. I'm at a stage where either people like me or they don't, right? So at least with the podcast, I can give people the opportunity where we can build a relationship in a way where they can say, you know what, I kind of like that Stormy guy. Or they could say, you know what, that guy's not my speed. And I'm okay with either one, right? I like most people, and I like dealing with people that are like-minded. And I like to think I'm fun. I hope I'm fun. I want to deal with fun people. So I tend to attract those types of individuals. So having a podcast, one, it gives me more credibility because I do host, I'm part of two podcasts. It gives prospective clients, it gives other organizations that are looking to have me come in to speak to their audience, it gives them the chance to know me. And those two podcasts are different. One podcast is Powerhouse Experts. Now that one's been on pause because my co-host has been dealing with some medical issues for some time, but now she's getting better. She's recovering. So we'll be coming back on soon. The other one that's been more consistent as of lately is Finances, the other F word. Now the primary host is a young lady by the name of Mello. She's a certified financial planner, and she has taken finances and she combines it with the world of music, primarily music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And she does a masterful job of tying those two in together. And she just asked, "Hey, Stormy, do you want to be a part of my show?" I'm like, "Yeah, this would be fun." And I get additional credibility through her association on her podcast, in addition to my Powerhouse Experts podcast. So absolutely adds credibility because I'm exposed to a different audience. It gives me a little more authority. So when I'm meeting with clients, when I'm introduced to come on stage, they get to say exactly what you said. Not only he's an author, an award-winning author and founder of Yokel Local. He's the co-host of 2 different podcasts. It just adds a feather in my cap. So definitely adds to credibility, and it allows me to have more fun.
Right. Well, from your experience, if somebody is starting off with podcasts, what is a good strategy? I mean, how many podcasts, how often?
So with podcasts, consistency is key. So let's say if you have all the time in the world, maybe you're in a lockdown with coronavirus, right? You can't go anywhere. Well, I believe that consistency is key, and that you can't produce too many. Meaning that if you have the ability of doing 7 podcasts a week, by all means, do 7 a week if you can do it consistently. If you can do 1 a week, well, do 1 a week if you can do it consistently. But one of the things I would recommend you doing is start recording your podcast. If you want to do it, if you wanted to create a podcast, you do not have to spend tons of money in equipment. You can get a app, the Anchor app, which is owned by Spotify, and start doing it on your phone right now. You can start a podcast 10 minutes after listening to this message. You have all the equipment you need in your smartphone. And then the first piece of equipment you buy is a better microphone, right? That's the first thing you do. But here's the thing that's interesting. When I first started my podcast, even before anyone knew who I was, everyone I would ask to come on as a host would say yes. It would just say yes. I'm like, wow, this is pretty darn easy. Because by bringing guests onto your shows, here's the part that's incredible is you're helping them promote their brand, their goods and services. That's really what it's designed to be. And if your goal is to help them, and if that's your true goal, they're going to come on your show. And if they come on your show, you're now introduced to their audience. And that's not a bad thing. And if you do that and you do it consistently, that will help your brand. So I would say if you want to start a podcast, go download the Anchor app. It's owned by Spotify. You can get started in 10 minutes, so there's no excuse. You get a few bucks together, go buy a microphone. That will be your first investment. And then all you have to do is ask. Ask someone that's that may be a little that's an expert in their respective field, and ask them to come on your show. I guarantee you, if you do it 5 times, you're going to get a yes 3 out of those 5 times at least. You may get yes 5 out of 5 times if you make it about them and not yourself.
Right. Well, Swami, I wish we had more time, but it has been fun chatting with you. But still, before I let you go, one valuable, super secret tip that the audience can apply right away and gain benefits from.
So here's the secret tip. And it's something called half-built bridges. No more half-built bridges. And what I mean is, you may have heard me mention several things here today. There are times that you go to events or you hear something from someone and you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I want to do it. So what do? You're like, you start down the process of doing it. And before you have a chance of completing that bridge, which takes you to success, you stop and you start building another bridge. And then you start down that process because you hear something else great from someone and you head down that bridge. And before it gets to the area that's going to give you success, you stop and you do it over and over and over again. So here's the one piece of advice I would give you. If you heard advice from me today and you're like, I want to take action, the first thing I would say is, what other areas have you already started? Complete that bridge, and then come back and build this bridge. Complete something that gives you success to where it's working for you, then build the next bridge. And if you follow that type of methodology, you'll find success, because each and every bridge that you complete makes the next bridge that much easier to build. What do you think? Was that beneficial?
Well, I mean, golden words. I mean, because a lot of people do that, right? I mean, you go to an event, you hear a speech, and, the next day you're very excited, you want to do that, and you just stop thinking about the stuff you already had invested so much time on. So yeah, bang on.
Yep. So there's the number one piece of advice. No more half-built bridges.
Right. Well, Stormy, thank you so much, for your time today. It has been fun. And, I mean, hopefully I'll try, catching up with you sometime soon for lots more.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And for those of you that are listening, my book, The World's Best Buyer Persona, if this is okay, goes on sale on Amazon next month in July, the middle of July. It goes on sale. So check it out.
Definitely, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Tommy.
You're welcome. Thank you.